Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Functional Friday. My name is Dr. Kirk here at Premier Chiropractic, and today we're going to look at part one of breaking down the squat. So part one is just going to focus on some of the biomechanics of the squat, some of the things that you can look for in terms of common faults, and maybe what's going on with your squat. So the first thing we're going to look at is how you should be squatting it as it relates to the spine. I'm a chiropractor. A lot of people have low back pain and low back problems. So the number one thing we want to make sure of is that when we squat, we're doing it safely. Okay, the squat is a fundamental human movement. If you look at different populations that still, squat down to go to the bathroom, or even if you're just squatting down to pick up your kids a lot, it's a movement that we should all be able to do very, very well. Okay, so as we look at the squat, one of the main things we want to make sure of is that you don't have a butt wink at the bottom of your squat. There's a belief that every single person out there should be able to squat all the way to the floor, and we know that that's just not really the case in our society. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a lot better if everyone could, but chances are that a lot of people can't get there, and there's a few different reasons for that. Part of that's anatomical, what you're born with, but then part of it is because we just don't squat very much, so we don't get very good at it. Okay, so as we look at the squat, we want to make sure that, like in the other movements that we've talked about in past videos, your spine can stay solid. So we want to avoid what's called lumbar flexion under load, and I know I've mentioned that before. So what does that look like? It looks like this. Okay, so if we're looking at the squat, that would be coming down and then bending in the low back. Okay, so that right there is going to look like this. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to be able to move better through our hips and through our ankles and everything down the chain, and we want to be able to stay solid here. Now, another thing you get is you get posterior pelvic tilt, so we want to make sure that your pelvis isn't rocking backwards, because again, that's just going to round out your low back even more in the bottom part of the squat. So right now, I'm just going to demonstrate a good squat and then maybe a squat that has that butt wink in it. Okay, so first I'm going to demonstrate what a squat should look like from the side. Now, I'm not saying that I have a perfect squat, but this will give you an idea of normal to abnormal. So a good squat from the side is going to have the whole spine staying neutral and moving well through the hips and the low back. So that would be what we call a good squat. It's just coming down, staying solid, and then back up. Now mine's not perfect, and I usually squat with a heel lift because I have really long femurs and I lack a little mobility in my ankles. Okay? Now, poor squatting mechanics when looking at it from the side would look more like this. As you get close to 90 degrees, you really start to round out. Okay? I guarantee a lot of the trainers, a lot of people who have been in weight rooms have seen that pattern of people coming down like this. And what that does to your spine is, again, it brings it into flexion. Okay? Now, to avoid that, you really got to focus on the mechanics of the squat, keeping everything solid in your core, coming down, and then back up. Now, one easy tweak you can make, like when I said with the heel lift, is if people lack movement in their ankles, they're gonna have problems balancing between the force here and the force back here, because if you can't come forward through your ankles, you're gonna have more force in the back and more weight in the back that's gonna cause you to want to tip back. Okay? So one tweak you can make is use an ankle lift. So for my ankles, they come up onto the back of this half foam roller here. This is like a larger heel lift than a lot of people need, but this is just an example. Okay? Same rules apply. Brace your core, and then as I come down, you can see that I have perfect squatting form now. Okay? There's no bend in my low back. So a lot of people rip on this and they think like having a heel lift is a bad thing. But if it's saving your low back for the long term, I highly, highly recommend trying it out. So that's part one of breaking down the squat. In the next 2 weeks, we'll have part 2 and 3, giving you some more pointers on things to look for in the squat. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you haven't already checked out our Facebook page, make sure to like it, Premier Chiropractic, here in Minot, North Dakota. If you haven't checked out our website, premierchiropracticnd.com. And if you have a problem, make sure to give us a call now before it becomes a bigger problem later on. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Everyone have a great day.